right, everybody. Happy Friday. Welcome back to Fintech Friday. I'm Brian View, President and COO of FinLocker. And joining me this Friday is a special guest and a great friend, Ramon Walker. Welcome, Ramon.
Hey, how's everybody doing? Thanks for having me, Brian.
Yeah, I'm super excited to have you on. This is episode number 4 of Fintech Fridays, so we're still figuring this out as we go. And I've just been seeing a lot of activity with what you've been up to. I call it, you've been in the lab kind of cooking up some cool stuff, so I thought we would talk a little bit about that. But before we dive in there, I'd like to start everybody off with a question. And the question is, what does the term fintech mean to you? It's used a ton out there, and it means a bunch of different stuff. It depends on what seat you sit in, and you sit in a unique seat as a owner, operator, originator, mortgage originator. And so I'd love to know, when you hear the term fintech, what does it mean to you?
Yeah, fintech, the financial technology. Yeah, and it's interesting for me because I'm from the Bay Area, right? Silicon Valley, so we're really into all our type of techs, right? But when and I have a background in IT, I went to Chico State, which is just a couple hours north of the Bay Area. A lot of influence from Silicon Valley, even when I was in school a little while ago. But I mean, we had labs. We had Cisco came in and put a lab into Chico State. That was in the late 90s. Oracle had a lab in there, so we were taking database administration classes and kind of learning on the front end of that stuff. So it was an exciting time. I think it was really funny. It was like 80% of the business department at that time was in MIS. The other 20% was in everything else, accounting, marketing. So it was like super popular, and I think I kind of came up through those times. Fintech for me, the first word that comes to mind is disruption, right? That's the immediate word I think of when in fintech. And like you said, I'm in a unique sort of position as a operator. There's so many people in the financial space, and there's some beautiful minds, great engineers. They can come in and break things down, build blocks back up, but they still never have the opportunity to be that subject matter expert. They always have to go out and find these individuals and try to live sort of like vicariously through them so they can understand the problem at hand, which they do. So the interesting position for me is coming into this business, learning it from the ground up, and then really obtaining that subject matter knowledge. And after conquering, a lot of the knowledge you need to be successful in this business. So after conquering that and having a little bit of personal success, then being able to unwind that and look at it from the perspective of sort of like an IT person, breaking it down and saying, hey, how can we get more efficient here? How can we get more efficient there? And so on and so forth. So I think that's the real difference for me. It's always, the fintech, the whole piece is always about efficiency. It's about doing things better, faster, cheaper, more ease for your end user. So I think our industry, I mean, it's regulated. I mean, you have the whole technology piece, and we could probably move things like 100 times faster than what they really are moving. But mortgage is complicated. It's big. It's clunky. There's a lot of. I mean, it supports the biggest fixed income market in the world. Really, talking about U.S. housing. So there's a lot of pieces to it, and this is a puzzle that we're lucky to get to sort of like unwind, build, break it apart, build some more, and just get better and better and better. So fintech for me means it's this ongoing sort of process of disrupting and trying to make things better, easier, and faster.
And so I love it. So this is, again, our 4th episode. So I've had 4 different definitions, but there's a lot of parallels. And as I think about your kind of thought and definition of disruption, knowing what I know about your business and what you've been up to, you not only are seeking to disrupt the industry, but I think what you first did was disrupted your own ecosystem. Mm-hmm. Is that fair to say? I mean, you kind of went in and blew up your own tech stack and kind of reconstructed it. Maybe talk us through kind of, because you were cranking out a lot of loans, generating a lot of revenue. What motivates you to kind of say, let's break this and make it better arguably during the busiest time in our history, in our industry.
Either I'm crazy, I'm either crazy, really dumb, or really smart. One or the other, and the jury's still out. But yeah, I think what happened was, I got into the business just poking around, kind of accidentally fell into it. Well, I wouldn't say accidentally, partly luck, partly, individuals that make their luck and just continue to sort of like, grind and do things and learn things, a lot of transferable skills, all that good stuff. But to make a long story short, I think through the years I was really excited about learning the business. It was a big thirst for that, right? So it's like learning the business initially. Then it's like I see top originators and I see these people over here, so now I'm like, I want to go after that, right? So then that was the path. And then once I kind of conquered that, it's always what's next for me. I think I'm a person that's constantly like, I'll be a lifelong learner.
Right.
I'm pretty risk adverse, growing up, we didn't have a whole lot, and I don't really care about the money aspect of things. It's just more of this. I always wanted this upward trajectory. So yeah, I think that made me very risk adverse. So even some people, they get to a certain level and then they have some success and then they fight to keep that level of success, and that becomes more of the battle. I don't really care about that. I want to see what's next. I want to see how far I can go in this beautiful thing called life, and I just feel extremely blessed to have been introduced to mortgage, because it's the gift that keeps on giving. No matter, there's not enough, you can't live long enough to learn everything about this business when you watch the whole cycle of the loan coming all the way back around, right? So this business will always allow me to quench that thirst of wanting to do more. So with me becoming the top originator, that was wonderful, and I was in a good place. But then at some point, it's like I decided I wanted to help other people sort of do that same thing, and I did. I jumped out and tried to, start recruiting. A lot of people came over, but I found that it was really difficult with the platform I was using. That was the thing. That was the major obstacle for me. People had to work in the same model or facet that I worked, and that was not going to happen for the majority of individuals. For a number of reasons. Just because I'm crazy and I work a lot, and because of I had transferable skills that I applied and all that sort of thing. So I kind of sat back. The beautiful thing about life is you walk down a path, you can have success. You walking down a path some more, you fail, right? And you just get back up, dust, and then go again. And I think that's sort of like where I landed, somewhere around 2019, beginning of 2020. And I just decided, I had some friends from college that worked at Salesforce, and I decided that we could build a beautiful. So many of the systems are so fragmented. It's very difficult for them to speak to one another, and that was a big frustration point for me. I sort of knew, with all the knowledge I have, I understood that I could put together a system that could be end-to-end, not necessarily just connecting APIs, but really have some continuity between the data and the flow, right?
Yep.
That's what I set out to do, and I decided to use Salesforce as the platform. And as we've gotten down that road, I discovered more and more about the Salesforce platform, where I thought originally when I kind of got into it, that was just more of like a real strong API machine. But then what I've learned is there's a lot of development that can happen in that ecosystem and that environment too. So we're kind of pulling down on some of those API connections. We still have them, don't get me wrong, you can always plug anything into Salesforce, but we've done a lot of development on that Salesforce platform and really think that we're going to be able to bring and deliver a true end-to-end system. We're actually in the latter stages of our security review now. So hopefully, fingers crossed, we'll be in the app exchange within the next couple of weeks. So that's the first big step. So yeah, I think we're on week number 42 of this project, right? And we've just been grinding every week. So we took advantage of COVID, right? We were all inside and just kind of 3-4 meetings, moonlighting, running the business, in the daytime, and then doing this in the evenings and the weekends. And we really moved the needle pretty far. And I think people are going to be really impressed, because it's a deployable software, so it's going to be for everyone. But I think they're going to be really impressed, not depressed. They're going to be really impressed with the ability to have a POS, bring that PP and the communication that's all on the same platform, and not need those multiple systems that you see out there that they try to put together as a tech stack now. So that's it.
So when you set out to do this work, I'm guessing your mindset was, I want to fix my own shop, right? That's probably what you started out in, just knowing how our industry is, and in particular how the wholesale channel is. I'm guessing, and you can validate this, that as you started getting excited about what you're building, you start sharing your story, and people are like, well, hey man, I want access to that. What was the genesis of pivoting from building it for yourself to taking it to the market?
It was early, and luckily it was pretty early in the process, and it was introduced by the engineers that I have, the people with the Salesforce experience. Because after I sort of did the brain dump. You kind of see I threw some of that stuff out on LinkedIn when I had that big long piece of white paper and said, I'm everything out of here, throwing it. So after I got done doing all that stuff, we did some data modeling, and I kind of showed them everything. Then they started to ask more questions, right? And then my understanding of the industry as a whole, how I did business, the difficulties with other people doing business, and then very early as we started to build, we said this could be a deployable software, right? Let's just build this. We're building it for us, but let's build. We always ask the question at every stop gate: how would others use this particular part of the system?
Yeah.
And then that allowed us to build it in a fashion that allowed for deploying and going into the app exchange. So it was pretty early on, and I think that's what a lot of people who built this stuff, they build it proprietary for themselves.
Yeah.
They don't think about, are there a tech company that's like, just trying to build specifically for a piece or a certain fragment of the overall.
Right.
I don't think, from what I've seen, too many have thought about it end to end. There's some that have grown, like you have, certain LOS systems, Landing QB, that do bring in task and bring in certain ability to communicate, but still, that was after the core of what it is, the product that they actually built. So it's just like,
right.
I'm thinking about it from the front end and trying to build it end to end. I don't think a lot of that has been done. And that's where the opportunity is. There's so much opportunity in our space because the technology really hasn't, taken off. It's taken off for some companies.
Right.
Individual companies have really taken advantage of technology, and we can see who they are, right? They did extremely well over this last year or so. But as a whole, with deployable software, especially in the wholesale segment, we haven't seen that one company yet come and just like really knock it out of the park. So that's what we're hoping to do.
And is it fair to say that your kind of target or company is a small independent broker, or can mortgage bankers also take advantage of what you're building?
Both. Because my experience this past year, that's something else that I did. I just did everything I possibly could. I just took all the Apple and stuff in my mouth, right? So we tried to build the software, but simultaneous to building the software, we also transitioned to non-Dell. So we broker, but we're non-Dell as well. So a lot of what we built into the system allows for non-Dell all the way down to warehouse stuff, and then it's all built there. So you don't have to use it necessarily if you don't want to, and you're working as a broker. But if you want to transition, it's a beautiful software. Your whole team will have learned it as a broker, and then they'll have that knowledge already, and we'll just be adding on or bringing in the visibility, a couple of fields or a couple of different pieces that weren't there before because you didn't need them, but now you do. Right? So that transition, the software can grow with you, right? So I do think it's a software for probably like a team sort of. There's no real reason to have. I mean, you can have the software, but if you're automating tasks to go to different people, if you're the one person, they don't go to you.
Yeah.
Right? So, if you want a checklist, it's a glorified checklist, right? That kind of reminds you of things and all that sort of stuff. But so there's still some use there. We made it so the barrier to entry is extremely low, and that's the thing I'm most. One of the things I'm most proud of. I'm proud of a lot of things, but one thing I'm most proud of is that we built this thing from the ground up. We didn't use a lot of the licensing that Salesforce already has built out there. Financial services, Sales Cloud, you start getting into 150, 250. That's just the promo price, because then after 2 years, it's going to be 350, 450. It's not attainable for anybody of our size. What we did is we went and built that thing out on a platform license, just a $25 license, and we're just passing the same cost on to the client, right? So now they can get onto this platform and really build it. So our hope is that we can get a lot of people on the platform, start to have synergy between everybody, look at the good and grand ideas that multiple people are suggesting, implement those for really cheap, not a lot of cost for any individual company, and deploy to everybody. The true definition of shared software. So that's what we hope that's the overall plan. But to answer your question, I recently had my sister come on. She's worked at a regional bank here in the Bay Area for about 8-9 years, and she was a marketing director. So she's now the marketing director for us. And she had mentioned to me that, God, we've been trying to deploy. I've been in conversations with Salesforce for 2.5 years for our mortgage, and we just never got it off the ground. Right? We didn't have a team that can get it off the ground. This is exactly what we could have used. Right? So it kind of shows me that there's use cases not only for the wholesale market, but for non-Dale, and even for the smaller credit unions out there, or the pieces that can't really get that initial year and a half, 2 years it takes, and all the developers to build that platform out to them customized to mortgage. Because that's the beautiful thing about our business. DTI is a DTI, LTV is a LTV. So, yeah.
So you've said end to end a couple times. Mm-hmm. So let's try to define that a little bit for the audience. Let's start at one end, the top of the funnel end. Where do you first engage the platform, and then maybe talk a little bit about how the actual consumer, if they do, touch the platform as well? Yeah.
So Salesforce is built on has the inside where we work, and then there's outside called communities as well, right? So we did build in communities, and we built our own POS because we wanted these customized fields that were a part of the original system, right? Because then we have a lot of automation and a lot of fun stuff by having all those fields, access to all those fields from the community side of things. So the loan officer's client will engage the system initially, at that POS. So as it comes in, we've incorporated a lot of the communication, and you can work internally, externally, all that. The POS, you kind of build modules, so it's sort of like the same module that's there. So client fills out half of it, you fill out the other half inside of your Salesforce. Everything works on the record, so it's beautiful. Quotes, text messaging, so everything you want to do from a sales perspective is right there. The automation, as far as the emails, all that good stuff, right? Then once they convert, then they move over to a borrower. You've priced the loan in the system as well. Right now, we're using an API to bring in pricing, and we have it linked up to MoreTech. We have it linked up to Price My Loan, which is part of Lending QB, Meridian Link. So any pricing engine you have, we could pull in. We do have in our roadmap next year to do our own PPE. So we'll have a nice light PPE that can bring down, a lot of lenders' pricing. Then from there, you get into the borrower record, and we've actually brought the Fannie Mae standard, like 1003 structure, into Salesforce. So everything is there that would be in your LOS. So that's a neat thing that we did there, because that gives us the ability now to run credit, right? It gives us the ability to run AUS, right? It also gives us the ability to have the system use its strength and find more opportunities. Take a look at the liabilities. Are there other mortgages there? Is there some automation that you put into that? So that's the real beauty, I think, in our system, is that we're still bringing those standard items that you would find in the LOS or the POS or wherever. We're bringing that one central place and using the power of Salesforce is Einstein and all the ability for it to, the automation and to find these events where, it's an opportunity to convert, right? And so that's all brought onto that platform. So whether you're the loan officer or you're an operations team, you're still, at this point, in Salesforce, right? The client's uploading their docs in Salesforce. Everything happens right there on that platform. Now, if you're a broker, at some point, you'll pull down that 3.4, which we can do, and then you'll download all your docs into a stack, right? And then you'll upload that to whichever lender, right? Yeah. If you're a non-Dale correspondent, we may have you directly into Encompass Bankers, right? Or you might go straight into Lending QB, and we connect those APIs. But a lot of times the LOS starts to be more of the system of record, because all the communication is happening right there on the Salesforce level. I mean, it's absolutely, the communication is probably one of the strongest pieces. I mean, they bought Slack, but they have this thing called Chatter too.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, when you're out in the field and it's right on your phone, your Salesforce app and processes, giving you a chatter, hey, does this one have impounds or doesn't have impounds? You're right back, it has impounds, right?
Right.
So instant. It's like instant, you're all on the same thing, no emails for the birds. It's just on this platform, and we're all working the file all the way through the file, down to reconciliation, and then the reporting is, get into the reporting and tasks. So, it's all about roles, tasks, and reporting. So we brought everything that normally would be outside of Salesforce into that Salesforce environment, and we're just applying Salesforce strengths and just trying to be more efficient and do more business.
So when you talk about Chatter as an example, and I came out of at Flagstar, we were a big Salesforce shop, and so we lived on Chatter. Does the consumer also have access to their own kind of Chatter channel, if you will, and how do they communicate with you through the platform?
Yeah, we can set up. We haven't set this up yet, but in the communities, once they log in, behind their login screen, we can set up the chat ability, which they just see it as chat, but it can chatter back to any of the individuals that are part of the team on that particular record, right? So, boom, you can see your disclosure specialist, your processor. I mean, it's just so granular. I mean, that's the thing that's beautiful. But yeah, whether you're talking about, we built this thing out so if you're signing the documents, if you're signing disclosures, there's a link right there to sign disclosures. For example, we all know at UWM, we all know that the link sent out there on the portal, so you can take and email it to your client. We just take that, put it inside of our Salesforce, and then it makes it to where in the communities, in that portal, that POS portal, you click the button, sign there. Time to sign the CD, click the button, sign there. So we're bringing this to this one central location. Always going to have this person come back here. Now, when we talk about opportunities, once we bring in like our own pricing system, what we want to do is use that communities to also suggest in the future that this individual should get a new loan. Or maybe this or that. So you bring some of those other components or some of the other ability into their portal as well. And we kind of try to keep them centralized in that arena once they become a client. And that's really that's what so many of the bigger institutions do a good job at, where we don't do as good of a job. And it's all technology. It's not that they're better. Nobody's a better LO or they're this. And that says a lot to what you guys are doing too at FinLocker. It's that piece, and we're going to have to talk and see about possibly getting these things locked in together. So I think there's a lot of synergy and a lot of opportunity there, because we don't want to. It might have been some time ago that we had the bank statements or we had the pay stubs or this or that, and if we can keep that running, keep that current, and then just instantly get a transaction done. So
that's where for us at FinLocker, the way we think about consumers transacting in the future is we're all going to be walking around with everything right here, and at some point it's just, how do I securely share my DNA, my financial DNA, with you, Ramon, to start a mortgage application, or with the guy I'm buying a car from to get a car loan, or whatever the financial transaction is. And I think it's brilliant that you've kind of you saw a problem in your process, and I don't even think it was a problem, because we already said you were a top producer, so it wasn't like the problem was keeping you from being a top producer. But I think I love your desire to continue to learn, iterate, and improve. And I think you've created something here that is not only going to put your company on the cutting edge, but it's going to also help level the playing field for other similar situated companies that, let's face it, don't have either the budget to go compete with the biggest fintech lenders, but certainly wouldn't have had the kind of patience that clearly you have to kind of see through this process.
Well, the standard can't be for me, like when I look at the top originators or whatnot, it's been this way for years. Because I still have my old 2015, 2014, whatever. So I was thinking, God, I don't even think I applied for it this year. But anyway, it's always been like one broker up there, me, maybe Twan was up there, and then the 50 people between on that first page are all retailers. And the thing I truly understand after going, getting out and, we've done the whole AIM thing, got out in the country and spoken to everybody and all that sort of thing. It's not, there are some awesome, absolutely the best owners on the wholesale side of this. People that jump out and decide to, hey, I'm going to try to start that thing myself, right? So they're the real gutsy ones. And I think the only problem is that the technology is just not there for them. The infrastructure that is not there for them. So that's one thing that, is a definite gap. I mean, a lot of companies have made strides, right, to do things. But collectively, I don't think that we have a system out there that's going to be absolutely wonderful and really allow us to open up. And because of our system, and I want to encourage people to, we're approved in 19 states. And the only reason I'm approved in 19 states is because I started doing mortgages and in one state, and the cost of the leads got too expensive. So I was like, hey, I open up fill out some more applications. I want other people to think like that too, right? I understand the locality of being a broker. That's important, right? It's important to be immersed in your community, but that doesn't mean that the opportunity isn't there for you to step out and compete with some of the companies that are some of the people that are willing to work with whomever they see on a display ad or on TV. So we have to open up, even if we're opening up within our own states or just our couple states around us, but we have to open up, expand our businesses, grow, get more people from the retail side on the wholesale side, and kind of go from there. I love retail's fine. Some people want to, if people want to buy lead maturation on the retail side, I'm fine.
No, we know our industry is massive, right? So
enormous.
There's never been a point where one channel, had 100% of the business, and that's capitalism is alive in the mortgage industry, and I think what we're seeing, and I'm a wholesale guy at heart. I spent a lot of years on the lender side of wholesale lending. So some of my best clients, best friends, frankly, are owner operators like yourself of small independent mortgage companies. At the end of the day, the consumer is going to choose. Right. And so clearly, we've all seen the large fintech lenders that spend a lot of money getting to the consumer first in a bunch of different ways. And they do have a good mousetrap behind them from a tech perspective. And the battle has had to be won by the independent mortgage broker or originator at the street level. And I think what I'm hearing you describe is you're bringing some scalability to that street fighter, which is pretty cool. Because, knowing how to originate a loan and knowing guidelines in and out and all the things that make an originator a really good originator is awesome, but you can only do X number of loans in a period of time because you have so much capacity. What I'm hearing is you're going to take someone that could do 25 loans in a month and scale their knowledge and expertise to do 50 or 100, right? And that's ultimately a win for the consumer because it gives the consumer more options in the marketplace, which is really what we're all here to do, is serve the consumer.
Exactly. Yep, you hit the nail on the head. That's exactly what our goal is, and that's what we're wanting to bring to the market.
Well, this has been awesome. I was excited to learn about what you're up to, and I'm glad I was able to learn it in a way that we can share this with others.
Awesome.
I appreciate you joining and talking with me today, Ramon. I want to close with a question I ask all my guests as they're kind of leaving. You just spent a lot of time sharing what you've been up to, which is awesome, and I can't wait to see your product hit the market. But what's something that you want folks to know about Ramon Walker, the man, not the mortgage guy, not the tech guy? Share a little bit about yourself that'll help us get to know you a little better.
Right. Well, I guess outside of the mortgage and the software, which takes so much time, right? The biggest things in my life is the family, right? It's little one. I have a 5-year-old, and a 7-year-old, little girl, and little boy, and they're so entertaining. Like, it was my wife's birthday on Sunday, and we all went up to Napa, And a lot of the time that I spend with them is sort of like fragmented, right? It's like a quarter of a day or half of a day here or this or that, just because the way life works out. And we live in we keep a very close, our tight sort of radius. Like school is like 2 miles that way, our house is a mile and a half that way, Whole Foods and Safeway in between. So we're really efficient on time. Nonetheless, it kind of always works. It's like, hey, we're over at the yogurt shop. I'm like, all right, I'm coming over. So there's an opportunity.
Yeah.
But yesterday on Wife's birthday, we got the opportunity to we were hanging out all day long, right? And the kids' personalities and me engaging them. My little son in his hoverboard, it's just really 5-year-old on his hoverboard, right?
Oh yeah, that doesn't sound like a problem.
Yeah, I know exactly. Where did you get this from? I don't remember. He was in his underwear and a helmet on the hoverboard going around. This was after Napa. We weren't in Napa with underwear and a helmet, but I think just engaging the kids as much as possible. And, we work so hard. We give so much of ourselves to all of our clients because, this is, a lot of times as we purchase, it's one of the biggest things that they're going through. It's super emotional. It's, you're there for them in many capacities, and that's always a sacrifice. And I think that's something that's not paid attention to a lot within our business.
Right.
Sometimes on the mortgage side of things, it could be the thankless business. If you did a good job, then that's what you were supposed to do. Do a bad job, my closing goes longer than So I think for me, it's just like outside of mortgage, at least at this point in my life, it's just been really about the family. And I think a lot of it's been this way probably for a lot of people. A lot of people could probably relate just because of the dynamic of the pandemic and forcing us in. I've been out. I was always in the office, or even early on. I got a mile away. You can't catch me, right? I snuck in. But yeah, biggest thing is it's all about. We had kids some people would say relatively late in life, or my wife and I, we really focused on our careers. And then hurried up and snuck those kids. And luckily it worked out. So I have pretty young kids, and they keep it exciting. All right,
I love it.
So that's it. Yeah, that's my life.
Well, I appreciate it, Ramon. It's been great catching up with you. Thanks for joining our show, and I will be looking out for the new app out in the App Exchange. So congratulations on all the great work.
Thanks. Awesome. Thanks for having me. We'll talk soon. Can't wait to see you in person. It'll be over.
Right on. See ya.
All right, brother.